I'm Lesley Canarium, Reader Conversations Librarian for the Rogers Public Library. And for November's Take It, Make It Adult Craft, we're going to make these nifty little airy string pumpkins. There should be enough materials in your kit for you either to make one large pumpkin or two small ones, but the materials are pretty cheap and easy to come by, so you can make as many as you like. You're going to start by taking a balloon, blowing it up. You can blow it up either little or there's big ones, so you can make it as big as the other. Littler ones are faster, but they're not quite as dramatic. For the sake of this program, this video, we're going to make one of the smaller ones. You can also make them with a single color of string, or you can mix and match. I showed you the two with the single color, but for this one, we're gonna mix and match. And we've got all these pre-cut strings. If you're doing this yourself and decide to add your own color of yarn or string, you don't want to make it much longer than 2 yards, because even that's pushing it for messiness. And this is a craft that will get messy. Just accept it. You're going to get covered with glue. As is your workspace, which is why you're going to want to put out a big workspace full with a covering, wax paper, plastic sheet, something like that. So let's start out in filling your bowl with just ordinary glue. It comes out a little thicker than you're going to want, so you're going to add just a little bit of water. Mix that in so it's, I don't know, the texture of the thickness of good gravy. You're going to blow up your balloon, and you're gonna cut off a little piece of string to go with. I'd go with the thicker cord to make your base. And it's gonna be just pretty much the same technique all the way around. You'll dip your string in, squeeze it out, make sure your string is nice and saturated. And for this base, we're just gonna coil this up to make a nice flat disc that can serve as the basic of your pumpkin, because as you see, balloons do want to fall over. And just make yourself a little disc. Flatten it down. Put a little more glue if you need to make it just stay nice and stable. And you're going to set that aside and let that dry a bit while you're working on the rest of it. Boy, is that messy, but it doesn't matter because it's on the bottom and nobody's going to see it. Okay, you got your balloon, you got your knot on top. Let's get going. Take a piece of string. Dip it in the glue. Squeeze it through. And yes, you can see I'm already dripping glue everywhere. And just start at the top of the knot and start going around your balloon shape. I was talking to my daughter about how on these craft projects that I do, I always do them 4 or 5 times before I bring them in to try and do it for this video, because between my bad hands and my natural lack of aptitude, I will put these together wrong. Every single way it can possibly be put together wrong. And some ways it probably shouldn't be possible to put it together wrong, but there you go. And she said, "Mama, you shouldn't be calling these take it, make it crafts. You should be calling it crafts for the clumsy, because clumsy people deserve to make stuff too. I don't think it'll change the brand quite yet, but she's got a point. The nice thing with mixing up the strings this way is you get all sorts of different textures and colors, though the single kind too does make for a nice rustic look display. Yeah, you can see some of them are already wanting to get unattached, but that's okay. Just 1, 3. Get all nice and gooey and drippy. Sometimes if one of them, the piece doesn't want to lay down, you can kind of catch it in the loop of another. We're probably going to speed a bit of this process up on the video because honestly, it's just doing the same thing over and over until you've got enough. For a small ball like this, maybe I'll use, I don't know, 10 strings. The bigger ones are going to want to use all the ones you've got. It's sort of up to you. The fewer strings you make, the more airy and delicate and kind of, how did you do that? It will look. But on the other hand, the fewer strings you use, the more fragile it will be. And sometimes you want to use a lot more strings just to give it enough strength. So like, you know, if you're me and you drop things, it's not all going to completely fall apart. I think that will be enough for this one. And I'll take the bottom part and just set it on top of my little disc, which is still wet, so it'll just glue right on. You might need to prop up your balloon while it's drying. That's okay, it'll be fine. Even if it falls over in the middle of the night, it'll be fine. And you're going to want to let this dry, and this is important, at least overnight. And frankly, if I were you, I plan on letting it dry overnight with this side up, and then turning it over and let it get dry with the other side up overnight again, because it's really, really important that it gets completely dry. And then you wash your hands. We didn't want to wait for 2 days while we waited for this one to dry, so I prepared one ahead of time to show you the next step of the process. And the next thing you do is the single most fun part of this entire craft. You've got your nicely dried pumpkin shape here. This is a tall and skinny pumpkin. And I wish you could feel how nice and crunchy these strings are now that it's dry. And you got your push pin or the sharp point of a knife, and this is so cool. As the balloon shrinks, it'll pull away from the strings, take a moment. Now I gotta see if I've left myself a space big enough here to stick my finger in. There we go. So I can pull the shreds of the balloon out. And it's a miracle! We've got a pumpkin made out of string. How'd you do that? And the little coil on the bottom, I didn't do a very good job on that coil, so it's not very stable, but that's okay. I've got several of them and they can sort of lean against each other. What you're going to want to do next is take one or two of the pipe cleaners, it's all up to you, and coil it nicely around a pencil or pen or your finger if you don't happen to have pencil or pen handy. So you get a nice twisty little vine, pull it out a little so it's shaped like that. There we go. And this can be just tucked in the top here and attached in place. There we go. Maybe turn it around a little. And you've got a cork here, genuine, from a genuine bottle of wine, which I myself drank. I took this one, and because this is a smaller pumpkin, I already cut it in half. You can use a big one if you want a big stem, or the whole thing if you're doing the bigger pumpkin. This is not part of the demonstration about how I can't open a glue bottle, but that's all right. We'll just do it the brute force way. Doesn't matter because you want lots of glue on that cork anyhow, because of course it's only got string to hang on to at the top. This is the part where if you have a hot glue gun, it would come in real handy. And you park that cork right on top. You may have to hold it for a few seconds or even a minute just until the glue sets. Or as what I do when I'm at home, I take a bunch of masking tape and just tape everything into place and let it just happily dry on its own. But, oh, well, we're not going to sit here watching me hold on to this for 5 minutes while it sets in place. But as you can see, that's your nice little multicolored pumpkin. And if you want to make it fancy, you can always spray paint it when it's done. You can include your own strings with different textures and colors. I saw one that was made with newspaper strips, which looked really cool. Or, you know me, I'm always going to decorate, hey, spray glue and glitter. But whatever you decide to do, you can pick up the kits starting November 1st at the checkout desk for the Adult Take It, Make It craft, and post what you've done and tag us so we can see.